Boatbuilding News, the podcast. Let's do it. Welcome to Boatbuilding News, the podcast, a series of engaging interviews with key individuals from within the marine industry. I'm excited. This is going to be epic. Morning, Jouko. Welcome to the Boatbuilding News podcast. So let's just start. Give yourself a little introduction. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what is it that you do.
Yes, my name is Jouku Huju, a very typical Finnish name. I'm based in Helsinki, and I am since the 12th of August this year the Executive Director of the International Federation of Boat Show Organizers, based today in Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
Awesome. So let's just talk. Tell us a little bit more about for short, the IFBSO. Tell us more about that organization and what it does.
Well, as any industry, IFBSO is a collective force. It is an association taking care of the advocacy and the promotion of boat shows around the world. The major boat shows around the world are members of IFBSO, and our shows at the moment attract almost 1.5 million visitors every year. So we are talking about a rather big business here.
Yeah.
I think the main purpose of any association is to produce services that are done better jointly than that any single company or show would do on their own. That's the basic guideline of our work.
So just the coming together of everyone to raise the standards across the board.
Correct.
Goodness, awesome. So is this a global thing or is it just European? How wide does this organization stretch?
Well, we are very international. We are very global. So we have members from every continent, from China to the United States and most countries in Europe. We don't have anybody from Africa at the moment, but there are discussions going on because there are boat shows in Africa as well. Southeast Asia, Australia, and so on. Very, very global. And we are growing at the moment quite rapidly.
Okay. So what's the benefit of somebody being a member of you? Do you guys do you all meet in person various times of the year, or is it all done remotely? How often do you come together, and what's the main benefit, do you think?
Well, because of the possibilities of meeting online these days, we do talk a lot online in different connections, like the board meetings or different working groups. We do get together. There's a main conference once a year,
right?
And this year it took place in La Rochelle in France. But we do mainly work online because that gives the people the possibility to actually join without having to take the trouble of traveling somewhere.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it is very effective. We can do that in very, short notice. And we work basically on 5 different topics at the moment. We have working groups. We do talk a lot about sales and marketing of the shows. We do talk about sustainability. We do talk about the communication of the shows. We talk about the diversity and inclusion, getting as many different kinds of people to the shows as possible. And of course, then the technological side, IT and all that can be applied to the boat shows. So it's a very versatile range of topics.
Well, yeah, because there's just so much involved in organising a boat show. We all attend for the 5, 6, 7 days that they're on, but it's a year-long operation to get to that point. And it always blows my mind, that the second it finishes, when the visitors or the people exhibiting are like, okay, see you next year, already it's almost a week later and all the preparations and the discussions are on next year, because that's how early you need to start, which is just crazy. Just the logistics in general of bringing that many companies together is madness.
That is correct, absolutely. And you know, it takes, as you said, it takes a year. Sometimes it takes longer than a year to produce because you have to start building your brand.
Yeah.
The exhibitors need to work a lot on the brand and do all the preparations for marketing and communication to get their potential customers to come to the show. But the shows, I think, today are doing a lot more than they used to do. When boat shows started back in the 1950s, it just used to be a presentation of what's available on the market. And people came with their boats and stood on the stands waiting for somebody to come by. Nowadays, the boat shows are the most important sales event for the industry. Absolutely. Of course, it is also probably in some cases the biggest investment that they do in their marketing. But because of that, they need to prepare their special offers and so on. So, yeah, preparations for years at least.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? On the surface of it, you know, like you say, maybe at the beginning when boat shows started out, it was, you know, here's the boat that I'm selling. And it was a very sort of transactional sort of event. But I think it's so much more than that now. You know, I think that it's not always about, you know, if a company's going to a boat show, it's not always about how many boats they sell. It's about them getting on the floor, talking to their target audience, the people that are buying their boats, understanding the trends. It's solving problems with like-minded individuals. Do you know what I mean? It's just so much more than just physically selling your boat that you're exhibiting that day. Do you know, there's just so much more to it, isn't there?
That is absolutely correct, Holly. And the consumer, a boat today who comes to the boat show, gets so much more out of it than just seeing boats. The offer of all kinds of educational programs is so huge.
Yeah.
Whether it's about how to use the boat or how to approach the authorities for different permissions, and if you go fishing, how about that? You go sailing, you name it. It's all there. It's just, you know, for the price of the money that they pay to get into the boat show, they really get their money's worth.
So do you notice any trends that affect boat shows? So, you know, is there anything external to the boat show that could affect visitor numbers, for instance?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course there are, because economical cycles have a big effect on the boat sales in general, at least in the smaller boats, and that has a certain effect on the visitor numbers. But the changes actually have been rather limited. So when the war started in the Ukraine, the interest rates went up and inflation went up, and of course the consumer confidence went down, and people were a little cautious, meaning that they would not be buying new boats so enthusiastically. And in some markets, the boat sales has gone down, but the effects in the past 2 years have been that in some cases the attendance has gone down maybe 10%. But the good thing is that when we look at the in-water shows that have now taken place, for example, in Scandinavia, there is an upturn.
Right.
So people are kind of tired of trying to be so cautious all the time, and the attendances have been going up between 5 and 10%, and people actually do start reporting about better sales, which of course is a great thing.
Sure. I mean, are you seeing as well? Because I've been a regular visitor to many shows over the years, and it's not even that long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, and you wouldn't have seen that much focus on sustainable solutions. Like, I can probably think back to a show even as maybe 3 years ago, and I think I would have struggled to pick out an electric outboard, an electric boat, biodegradable cleaning solutions. Whereas now I feel like that's, you know, it's a massive focus, and I expect the boat shows that I visit over the next few weeks, I will, you know, every other stand or every other exhibitor I will see will have that message. So are you noticing that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Sustainability and eco-friendliness, of course, is the theme of the day. And not only the boat shows have taken that into account, with starting from like waste management or using packaging which is sustainable, carpets which are sustainable or reusable, but it starts from the industry where the whole production process is being scrutinized. And and checked in the way that it's as sustainable as possible. That is something that the audience and the consumers and the voters demand today, and we of course have to follow the trend. And I think the exhibitions have done a great job of that. And as you say, it is on the list, on the agenda of almost every show nowadays, and you really see it.
How seriously is that a theme for the boat shows themselves when they're looking at I don't know, even as far as erecting the stands and the travel required for those materials? How much is sustainability a focus there for the organisers?
I think the sustainability issue is concerning the whole chain of from the production to the exhibition itself. So it's something that the industry understands, and also the exhibition industry has to understand that without taking these things into consideration, they're going to be in trouble because the consumers do that. So eco-friendliness, recycling, people have to talk about the life cycle assessments of boats, life cycle assessments of exhibition materials, and all that. So it is something that is on the agenda of the industry and the show industry all the time at the moment.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. It's, because it's, when you walk around these shows, I mean, the setup is just incredible. So it must be hard to do that, fully sustainably. But I guess, if there's a focus on it and you can improve each year on how sustainable it is, then it's a step in the right direction each year that it's put on, isn't it?
No, absolutely. And it's going to take some time. I mean, you can't produce in just 1 year like reusable carpets, or you can't turn your electricity production into solar power in just 1 year. It takes time, but it's all on the agenda. So it will come at the end of the day, whether it's stand construction material or packaging, as I said earlier. It's all there.
Yeah, it's just an evolution, isn't it?
It has to come, and that's also going to be part of course, the marketing of the show itself, because people demand from the boats. So when they come to the show, they are expected to see stuff like waste management done properly.
Yeah, absolutely. It just contributes to their overall impression of the industry, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, I mean, if we think back, to sort of, I mean, I don't like to talk about it because I actually feel quite uneasy when I do, but the pandemic, it's mad really, because as you touched on earlier, it's so easy nowadays to do business remotely. You can jump on a Teams call, you can jump on a WhatsApp call, you don't necessarily need to do the travel. But boat shows for me are the one part of the industry that's sort of hung on to face-to-face. It's where you go and physically meet people and you get face-to-face, so, over a drink, over a coffee, over a lunch, at the stand showcasing your product. And the pandemic for me really gave me a sort of a sense of fear that wouldn't be the norm moving forward as we came out of it. And it for me, it felt like that was the biggest part of the industry that was threatened by that. Would we get so used to doing business remotely, it would be the death of the boat show? And I know that sounds dramatic, but honestly, in that time, I didn't know if we would return to boat shows as we know now. What effect did you think the pandemic had on boat shows? Because obviously we did return to them.
Well, of course, it has had some really dramatic effects, because many boat shows were cancelled by the authorities, and which was natural. We just couldn't have any boat shows there. And if you combine that with the discussion that the internet nowadays provides you with basically any information that you might require to get to know new boats and so on. But if you think of an average boater and how he feels, how passionately he feels about the product that he's going to buy. Maybe it's like in Finland, it's a 5-meter outboard center console boat that is the hobby of his during the 3 summer months. He doesn't want to buy that based on the information he gets from the internet. He wants to go to a place where, first of all, the whole atmosphere is marine, it's boating, Like we have the show in February. That is the beginning of the boat show,
Right.
of the boating season, and you get the real feeling of boating. So he can see everything that is available on the market. He can go, touch the boat and sit on it, talk to the dealers, kick the tires of the trailers, and then go have a coffee and then continue that.
Yeah.
It is all about the nature of the boaters. I find it very hard to believe if someone says that you can actually buy a boat just by looking at it online.
No.
That I don't believe. They want to come to the show, and they want to come several times. If there is a 10-day show, they want to come 3 times to do that over and over again. They will meet their friends, they will meet the dealers, they will meet everybody there, and they go around. Maybe they don't buy the boat, but they'll get to the real feeling of the boating season starting. Maybe they'll buy new life vests or something like that. But it's just the general feeling of the shows that you need to experience yourself.
Oh my
goodness.
Can't
do that online.
You are absolutely right. And I always think as well, I mean, a proportion of these purchases made at a show are leisure marine purchases, right? So they're not necessarily essentials in somebody's life. So that they're purchases made with emotion, so it's they enjoy looking at what they're purchasing. They enjoy the shopping around of it. They enjoy the choosing and the different bespoke specifications they might be able to put on it, and they want to do that when they can actually touch it, see it, feel it, and understand what the emotion is when they're on it. It's exciting for them. And I think we're an industry that, I mean, I don't have a massive experience of other industries, but for me, we are a social industry. And it's as much about networking and socializing and talking about the industry over a drink, perhaps outside of the core show time even, that's just as important as the actual transactional part of here's the product, come and take a look.
It's a community. I mean, boaters are a community.
Really are.
You can compare it to like what dock owners. If you go and walk at your dock out in the evening, you probably stop when somebody comes with his or her dog, and you start talking. What is that for a dog?
Yeah.
If you go to the boat show, you talk to people that are looking at the same boat, and they say, well, I had that boat for a while, and I have these and these experiences. Where else than in a boat show you can see that all in one day?
Yeah, I know.
For 20 euros or so. It's just a unique opportunity to see everything.
It is. And also, from an attraction point of view, it's showcasing the best of our industry. So, I think it's so important if you've got, students coming in from local schools, even if it just sows the seed that you've had a great day out and it's been because of the marine industry, it's then sown that seed in a young person's mind that maybe the skills that I have in, I don't know, sales or design that I start to establish as I grow up, maybe I could put them to use in the marine industry because it's sown that seed in my head. And I think it's generational long-term gains as well that, are so important.
Oh, yeah. And there are many shows are actually producing nowadays information about jobs in the marine industry. There are the young talents sections, and there are people who can explain to you about what working in the marine industry is all about. And it employs a huge amount of people around the world.
Absolutely.
Like 1 million people are selling 1 million boats a year around the world. So it produces a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
And jobs.
100%. From a recruitment background, I totally agree. I've spent my whole career, connecting people and providing talent to companies. So absolutely. So what would you say is your biggest challenge right now? Well, what's troubling you? What are you trying to overcome at the moment in the industry, do you think?
Well, it's when the consumer's confidence level is that low, so we just have to be able to tell them what the boat shows are offering. Mm-hmm. About the huge display available in one place in one day. That is one of the biggest problems. But of course, the industry itself has to do a lot of work, not only by producing new models sustainably, eco-friendly, but they have to make sure that the products that they produce are priced so that the average consumer still can afford them.
Right.
And that is, of course, a challenge because everything goes up.
Yeah.
The raw materials since the pandemic have gone up. The most important raw materials like resins and aluminium gone up 30% since that. And if they want to trade in their boats, the price might be surprisingly high. But of course, the industry is working on that. And there is a certain level of boaters who always will go on water. And like in certain Scandinavian countries, like Finland, where every fifth Finn has a boat.
Wow.
So there's 1.2 million boats in this country, and half of the population goes boating every year. So boating is there with 188,000 lakes, like in most Scandinavian countries or European countries for that matter. Boating is it's a lifestyle. It's part of your everyday life. Not in the winter, because the season here is about 5 months.
Right.
But when you have a short season, then of course you do things more enthusiastically.
You're so right.
I think that is the case. But it's all about communication. It's all about communicating the important things of the shows, of the boats, of sustainability and everything. So the boating is still something that you can do, and you can do it in different ways. You don't actually have to own the boat. You can buy a share, you can rent it. Renting is growing. You can charter one. So there's so many possibilities, even, in smaller boating countries like my own. Boat renting has become a huge business. So there are hundreds of boats available on different platforms where you can just, by using your app, rent a boat for an hour or a week or a day and go out and come back and then leave the boat, and you leave all the maintenance behind. So that is something that is growing up, and that is something that will grow boating, because people, when they go and hire a boat and they see the world in a different light. I mean, if you go out 100 meters from the shoreline and look at the city, it looks so different. It
really
looks
does.
so beautiful, calm. There's no noise, nothing. And they may get interested in buying a boat of their own. So it's a process that has so many sides in it.
Yeah.
But and it requires a lot of work. I have to admit it that the work that I see ahead of me is just huge.
So it's kind of like trying to continue making it accessible, boating for all, so that the barriers to getting out on the water are lowered a little bit for everyone.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the way it has to be done, and it's not only the work for the association or the companies; it's the work of the industry as well. They have to produce stuff that is that can be used for renting and chartering and so on.
Absolutely. I mean, because being out on the water it's not exclusive to the luxury yacht owners. Do you know what I mean? It should be something that's achievable for everyone, because you just want everyone to experience the beauty of just being out there on the water.
Well, boating in Finland, for example, it is the small boats, it's the rowboats, and it's the small outboards for 10 or 15 or 20,000 euros, which is acceptable or achievable for most people. So there's the luxury section, of course, and that is a very important industry, and it produces a lot of work to produce these big boats. But to get the average people from the street to go boating, you just need to have smaller equipment for that as well.
Yeah, perfect. So, I mean, you must have achieved so much in your career to date, but have you got one standout moment that's, that you look back on and you think, I'm really proud of that?
Well, I guess there is one moment that I really felt proud about, and that was when we go back to 2017. We had a new government in Finland, and the governments, as usual, they are lacking funds for trying to run the country. So they came up with a series of fiscal tax proposals And one of them was a user tax for boats. So they wanted to start putting a tax on all boats in Finland from 4.5 meters upwards.
Oh, wow.
And that would have meant a lot of problems, and it would have caused declining sales and all that. So we started a fight against that. Firstly, when I was still working with the Boating Association at that time. And it actually then created a popular movement among the boaters. And we did a lot of calculations, and we did a lot of comments. We gave them a big report on how that tax would actually then affect boating in Finland. And after, I think, 4 or 5 months, during the first day of the boat show that year in Finland, the government then announced that they had cancelled that tax proposal.
Wow.
And of course, it was nice to walk around the aisles of the boat show at that time when we managed to do that.
Oh my goodness, because I guess, sometimes governments are a little bit one step removed and they're not in the industry. They wouldn't have realised the impact that something that they saw as just sort of fund generating, revenue generating, actually what that would do to an industry so integral to Finland as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that is correct. And having fiscal taxes that are so-called point taxes in Finland, they are old-fashioned. And I don't think we have to go back to the times from the 1800s where women's dresses might have been taxed because they were too festive. Wow. So that was the proud moment.
Oh my goodness, and what a feel-good moment and beautiful timing to have got that decision on the first day of the show, and you could actually be physically with the industry that you care so much about when you understand that decision.
Oh, absolutely. We had a few drinks on that, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, no wonder oh my goodness, that would stick in my mind. So no wonder you're proud of that. That's awesome. So I'm going to finish on the final question that I always finish on, and it's my absolute favourite question to ask anybody. But what quote inspires you? What do you strive to live by each day?
Well, there must be many, but I think one of the most, let's say, simple quotes that I try to live by is by a British writer, George Bernard Shaw, when he says that if you can't change yourself, you can't really change the world around you. And I try to live by that. So we're trying to learn new things all the time and adapt to the changing circumstances. And that makes life a lot easier.
Yeah,
Don't
absolutely.
be stubborn.
Just not being so sort of set in your ways, being open-minded to think, actually, my circumstances have changed, so probably need to change my mindset and my approach to it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So even though you grow older in years, you don't have to stay as you were 20 years ago, but you have to change yourself. That helps life a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. My goodness, I can relate to that so much. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us. I've really enjoyed our conversation. And I'd love to do it again, actually, maybe each year, and to discuss the trends in the boat shows, because it's so, so interesting to me, and I'm sure for the people listening.
Happy to have been here. Thank you very much for inviting me, Hollie, and talk soon again.
Awesome. Keep in touch. See you soon. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, then it would be awesome if you could leave a rating or a review. Don't forget to subscribe so you can listen to us again. See you soon.